Hey guys, Nicole Cooper here, and I want to welcome you to the Smart Entrepreneurs Podcast with myself and my co-host, Mr. Al Pickett.
Hey everybody.
Hey, so really quickly, guys, our other co-host, Mr. Arthur Griffin, better known as AG, is not in on today. He'll be sitting out on this one, taking care of some business. As you know, we're all entrepreneurs, so we're always working on our businesses and fitting in these podcasts in between. So the beautiful thing is we're teaching you what we're actually implementing at this stage in our lives and in our businesses, which is awesome. So AG, we're sending you a shout out. And today, guys, we're going to cover and just discuss a little bit about how we came up with the Smart Entrepreneur podcast and the whole backstory behind creating a name. As a matter of fact, the irony is that AG actually came up with this name, but I will go ahead and just give you guys a little bit of insight, and then we're going to talk about what being a smart entrepreneur is, because at the end of the day, the goal of these podcasts is to simply provide you with the information that you need so that you can create the results that you want in your business. So we're going to spend a few minutes with you here today. This will be one of our shorter versions of our podcast because we want to give you some quick, actionable insight of things that you need to do and some actual mental notes that you need to make in the process of building out your businesses. So just to give you guys a really long story and make it short, when we were first coming together about how to put this podcast together, the first thing that you need to consider is who is your demographic and what is it that they're looking for. And one of the things that we realized in business is that, first of all, people want to be able to connect with other entrepreneurs because the mastermind concept is really a way to elevate your business a lot faster, and it makes you happier along the way. You're not trying to figure everything out on your own. And that was the whole purpose of this podcast. But it was also to provide insight and information so that you can have practical advice to go implement immediately and start making progress. And so that's what the podcast was all about. And we actually threw so many names out there to the point where we actually came up with the No Name Podcast. Al, you want to tell them a little bit of that backstory?
Just essentially, this is a way for those people to, our audience, you, to basically leverage intelligence from ourselves, from our guests, and from our collective audience as we go out, or we currently operate our companies, and then we go out and find people operating their companies, and then there are going to be situations where we build a company from the ground to show you what that looks like, and just the audience writing in and sending in their testimonials about implementing these strategies, what worked for them, what didn't, what was the quickest way, everything that they learned to just combine this one unique learning experience where you get actionable intelligence.
Love it, love it. Well, guys, let's start off with talking about what SMART really means, because when we came up with the concept of smart entrepreneur, it really was behind the concept of the smartphone. You think about all of these different things, a smart car. These are really tools and resources and things that have come available today to make life easier, right? Doing things that are smarter and not necessarily working harder. So when Al actually, AG actually came up with the concept of the smart entrepreneur, the concept was us being able to function in an environment where we're leveraging the results of other people, we're leveraging the resources of other people, and we're operating in a smart way and building our businesses. You hear the whole concept of work smart, not hard. The reality is you have to work both hard and smart, but if you can work smarter so that you can reduce your learning curve time and you can actually start leveraging the advice, the path, the experiences of other people, it will put you in a position to succeed a lot faster, get the results that you want a lot faster, and it'll allow you to grow further than you ever thought you can grow. So when we talk about SMART, you also think about the concept of when you're putting businesses together and the whole model that they have out there today that they use as the SMART platform. Many of you guys may have come familiar with that. And what that means is when you think about the S.M.A.R.T that we use in business, the S stands for specific, the M stands for measurable, the A stands for attainable, the R stands for realistic, and T stands for time related. Al, you want to build off of that a little bit and just tell them what those categories mean?
Well, with these particular categories, it's really all about So the specific, right? So you, in order to really grow a company and communicate to an audience, communicate to a team, communicate to the world, you have to be very, very specific about what it is that you're doing, about what you're looking to do, how you're looking to grow, what are the things that tell you that you're growing, et cetera, et cetera. And so being very specific allows you to clearly articulate that vision, and that vision is what people believe in and why they buy, and because the people buy why you do what you do and not what you do, et cetera, et cetera. But so being specific in all realms, in terms of leadership, in terms of communication to the people who are going to interact with your product or service, those are the things you definitely want to have nailed down and not be wishy-washy about.
And so when I think about specific, guys, it's also your focus. You know, when you're starting out in business, you need to know exactly who you're talking to, what it is that they want, and what it is that your company is providing them. What are you giving them? I know when I often work with my clients and a lot of people in business, we, especially in the internet marketing space, we often go out here and we just start marketing. But we have to reel them back in and say, who are you talking to, and what are the pains that they have? And why will they want to get whatever it is that you're selling from you? How will your problem, how will your solution solve their problem? So you want to think about even in the S factor of that as a solution. You want to be very specific of what solution you're providing to your audience, what exactly your audience wants, and why is it that you have it to give? What is it that you have to give that is going to resolve them? So that is the S in being specific. Now, talking about the M, being measurable. Let's talk about measurable, Al.
Measurable is really, for me, it really, and for this particular thing, it comes down to data. If you have a goal, what's it going to take to get there? If you need 100 sales, you can back down or back into what it takes to get to 100 sales from a monthly perspective, to a daily perspective, to an hourly perspective. What measurable, what exact things do you have to be doing in order to reach that ultimate end goal? How many employees is it going to take? What can you accomplish with one employee? And that's going to give you an idea of what it takes to do 2 and 3 and 4, et cetera, et cetera. So measurable is really everything. You can't improve anything unless you measure it. And so if you need to improve kind of efficiency, if you need to improve the sales, the numbers, then you've got to measure, you've got to track those things. And so that's the real definition of what that means.
So I'll give you guys an example. When I was in real estate, my goal, I read a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Oh, yeah.
And my goal was to have one of my favorite books. I'm actually going to have him be meeting with one of the authors soon. But the goal when I was in real estate, because I heard that 80% of the wealthy built their wealth through real estate, I wanted to become wealthy. So my goal when I first got started was to make 6 figures for the first time in my life. I was in my early 20s, and I just gotten involved in the real estate industry, and I bought this book. And this book taught us to identify what our earning goal was, and then begin to backtrack and see how many sales do we need to make, how many customers do we need to talk to get the sales, and so on and so forth. So what I ended up doing was I knew I wanted to make $100,000. My 6 figures, the start of 6 figures is at $100,000. So I put that down, and what they had us do was identify what the average what the average sale per house was. And so if I thought about it, it was like $250 at the time. And then I had to identify how much commission I would earn off of that house, which would be 3%, right? And then I had to do the math of how much percentage do I get out of that, and then come up with the number of how many sales would need to take place divided by $100,000 what I make. So if I made $5,000 per sale, right, that I would take home pay, and I actually divided that into $100,000, then I'm going to come up with, what is that number? 20 sales? Yeah, 20 sales, right? 20 sales I would have to make that year. And then I would divide those 20 sales by 12 months. And then I would come up with a little under 2 sales per month that I would need to make. And then I have to think about how many customers do I need to talk to convert them into deals, and so on and so forth. I'm getting very, very in depth with you because I want to give you an example of what measurable is. And that's what measurable means. A lot of us get into business and we're like, I want to own my own business. But what are the objectives and the goals that you have for your business, especially when it comes down to financial targets, knowing your customers, and so on and so forth. So that's what measurable means. The next one is attainable or action-oriented. Let's talk about that, Al.
Yeah, so it's one thing to set the when you set these goals for, okay, we need to do 1,000 sales. Is that attainable in that industry? Are these goals attainable? Or I want to make a certain amount by X, Y. I want to make 100,000 by the middle of the year, or whatever the case, or 2 million by the middle of the year. Is that attainable? Has that record been set before? And most of the times you're going into, there's really not a lot of things new under the sun. A lot of disruption that you see in business comes from taking a concept that's currently in place and disrupting it with a new way of doing it. So it's really all the same business, it's just a different business model. And so the whole attainable aspect of setting these goals, you can go back and look and see what previous businesses did in those industries, right? How long did it take XYZ organization to reach $1 billion in sales? You can't clearly think if it took them 10 years, you're going to do that in 3 years. So setting some real attainable goals. However, I am of the mindset of, okay, I need to think 10 times bigger, and that's all good. And in backing into that concept of thinking 10 times bigger, it's, I know that I'm going to hit that a percentage of that target, and as long as that target is attainable, then that's something I can live with.
All right, you covered that. So the next one is R, which is results oriented or relevant. Let's talk about that one. So when you guys think about something being relevant, and you think about the process of building your business out and wanting to know, is there a connection there? Because the thing about businesses that a lot of us start, we often want to do things that we feel will make us money. But how relevant is it in multiple ways? How relevant is it to your big picture goals? How relevant is it to your customers' needs? How relevant is it to the industry that you have? I think about tons of businesses that come across my lap, especially in the direct sales industry, and how we come up with these concepts that nobody really wants, but we think it's just a great idea. Then there's also where we start businesses where we think about it's going to make us a lot of money, but how relevant is it to our big picture goals? If I have a goal of becoming a missionary overseas, but then I start a business that is totally contrary to that, is that relevant to my big picture goals? I want to be doing things that are going to be building and getting me in a direction of where it is that I ultimately want to go. So you want to link the goal to a higher level of goals, a higher level of ambitions, making sure that it's in alignment with who you are. I think the relevancy piece of this for me is the integrity piece. Is this a responsible and a business model that is connecting to your audience? So Al, you can expound on that.
I think you really hit it on the head in terms of from a very personal perspective. I meet with probably 3 to 5 new entrepreneurs per week, and everybody has an idea. That's not, and there are no unique ideas. But when you find a founder or someone who's interested in entrepreneurship that is extremely passionate about a specific area, they're more likely to stick to it. They're more likely to, those adverse times, they're more likely to go through those with the same amount of enthusiasm. And that's all because that is relevant to what they're interested in, relevant to what they're passionate about, et cetera, et cetera. So making sure those things align is very, very important, because if it's not, it's just going to be too easy to give up. Oh, you'll be able to use this excuse. Well, I really didn't like that anyway. How many times you heard people say that? So do things that are relevant to what you enjoy, things you're passionate about, because we spend, I can't remember the actual statistic, but think about how much time you actually spend working versus sitting at home. We spend a lot of time working and working around other people that are not necessarily family. So make sure it's relevant to something that you absolutely love.
I'll say another R to go hand in hand with that. Make sure it's rewarding.
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Rewarding. Yes, so important to be inspired by what it is that you do versus desperately operating to do something because of some desperate goal that you have. So on to the T. When we talk about T, there's multiple aspects of this, but the objective is it's time bound or time sensitive, that it actually has a deadline, a time frame in which you want to accomplish something. So it's kind of like going to college, right? When you go to college, they tell you that it's going to take 4 years to get your degree. Now, even if you make any changes or transitions in there, you have a gauge of when you want to complete school. If you start getting into the 5th and 6th and 7th year, you're like, something's wrong. And it's the same thing with goals. It's the same thing with business. It's the same thing with different things that you want to accomplish. So when we put this podcast together, we gave ourselves a time frame in which we will start recording. We can spend months upon months going back and forth and collaborating about ideas, but it's like, when are you going to get it done? When are you going to take the action on it? And when are you going to set, what is the deadline and the time frame in which you're going to set to get it up and running and up on air? And so make sure that you set an actual time frame, and I would say put a deadline on it. Sometimes you're going to have deadlines that are going to be pushed back, but you want to give yourself a viable time frame that you're going to get something done and get it up and running.
Yeah, and you are awesome in that area, Nicole. Because I remember we made an agreement. I think it was October, and I told you I wanted to write this book, and you was like, okay, I'll give me a date. So she lives and breathes that the time aspect of this. And so yeah, if you've got a dream, if you have a vision, and you want to do something, give it a name and put a date on it. And then only then does it become real. And it's one thing to say, oh, I want to do this, et cetera, and then, oh, well, I'm still working at it. But when you put a date on it, I think something psychologically happens where you're letting yourself down by not working on it and working towards completing it on time and with the date that you set forth. And most importantly, share that date with somebody else. Share that vision with somebody else so that they can also hold you accountable. Peer pressure. We all know how powerful peer pressure was in in grade school, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it's the same thing when you share your goals with other ambitious people. So make sure that whatever you're looking to achieve, especially in business, is time related. When are you planning to get it off the ground? How long is it going to take? And when you're going to roll that product or service out, et cetera. And start making some promises, and you'll find that you really meet those deadlines. You do it. It's just something about it. I don't know. I need to study more about what that is. Like, psychologically, what makes us just, when we set a date, that we just get there. Anyway, that's my take on that.
I love it. Well, awesome. Well, let's talk out a little bit about what SMART means to us individually. Because I know when we came up with this concept, all of us gave feedback between the three of us. Well, SMART means this to me. SMART means that to me. So, Al, why don't you read off to us and tell us briefly about what S.M.A.R.T means to you according to your business model and how you do life and business.
Yeah, so it's SMART to me. Well, the S is really anything intelligent, right? Unique approaches, different approaches that cut the time down, give me more information or give me proven data or a better process. So anything intelligent, I'm all about it. The M is massive. If you're going to do something, you might as well do it big, right? No need of playing small. And there's less competition when you do something massive, because you scare off competitors, you scare off wannabes, you scare off everybody. So do it big, do it massive. A is taking action. It's like, okay, nothing, that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, time related. Look, you got to take action. Like to sit there and think about it. Oh, somebody may steal my idea, or I don't know if I can pull it off. Oh, that's for whiners. You got to take action, and that goes hand in hand with thinking and doing things massively. Because when you take that amount of action, once that you're pushing a boulder so big that if it were to roll back on you, it'll crush you, and nobody wants to get crushed. So take massive action. The R is definitely relevant, making sure that obviously that is relevant to you, and not only relevant to you, but relevant to the audience that you're serving, the people that you're serving, whether that's a product or a service. Because if I come up with some old process where there's a new process in place, that's not even relevant to people. You think it's awesome because it helped you, but if there's a better process out there, and people are like, that's old news, and then you just look old school, and then you're out of business. So that's the business side of that. And then T is tactics, right? Because strategy, and S could also be for strategy, right? But the T is for tactics, because that is the doing of this entire thing. I'm not trying to become a philosopher. I want to be a role model for taking action and having tactics that work. And so the T is for tactics that actually work, that get you results. And that's what the whole SMART aspect of this podcast is about and what it means to me.
Awesome. Well, I'll start off with mine. S for me, the SMART concept for me, S is seek wise counsel. And that's the same thing as finding mentorship and getting plugged into people who have already done what it is that you do. As a matter of fact, this is something that I'm growing in every single day, because I was that entrepreneur that was good at trying to figure stuff out on my own and doing thousands of hours of research. But I'm learning to reach out, talk, connect, and ask questions. So seek wise counsel. M is have a make things happen mindset. It's called get ish done. And you guys know what I mean. You know, it's so easy. And I come from LA, where everybody that you meet is working on something. And the sad part about it is, for years, they're always singing the same song. You know, I got this album coming out. I'm working on this movie. I've been writing this script. I'm going to be in this, you know, this blah, 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 blah. And I grew up despising talkers, and I love action takers. So make things happen means go get ish done. The A is action, you know. I'll just cover that. Take massive action. It's just, guys, momentum comes when you're moving forward. You know, stagnation creates paralyzation, and it also creates frustration. So I'm learning, even as an entrepreneur, to get the heck out of the house. When I hit these walls, I got to leave the house and go network, go to networking events, go to meetups, go connect with people, be in motion. Be in motion and get out of your world. And be doing things so that you can start getting collaboration and getting energy back into you to move forward. If you just sit around and you hit a wall and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got to figure out, hopefully an idea will just spark and hit me. It's not going to happen. That's why ideas come when we're moving, whether we're in the shower or we're working out or driving in a car. Momentum creates just so much growth, all right? The R is be relentless. You know, my financial advisor, he's talked about this all the time. He said, I think it came from like a Lexus commercial, where their whole statement was just relentless. And when you think about relentless, I think about being like a Hulk Hogan or something. And it might be the Hulk, not Hulk Hogan, but the Hulk, where it might be, you know, thousands of forces trying to stop me, but I'm just running through them like crazy, and nothing can stop me. They can't put a net over me to stop me. They can't shoot me and stop me. They can't pull their cars up and stop me. I'm just going full force ahead. You got to be relentless in life and in business, because the reality is, guys, you only have, you know, a season in this world, on this earth. There's a lot of things we want to do, and you have to redeem the time. So be relentless. And R also, for me, means ready, fire, aim. The perfectionist syndrome, that's a whole nother topic. But we want to figure everything out before we take action. But the reality is, guys, like I just shared, you learn from being momentum. Momentum creates growth. And so you want to make sure that you get ready, but you fire first and you figure it out later. All right? And then T stands for team mindset. Entrepreneurship is not about being an individual who does everything alone. It's about having a vision where hopefully your vision is so much bigger than you that it requires collaborations with other people who have a vision as well that's in alignment with yours. When we get caught up in this is me, mine, and I, we end up building a business around our selfish ambitions, which is not appealing to anyone, and they collapse. But if you build a business around the concept of collaboration, connection, serving, and I can go on and on, what happens is it creates such an environment of open arms to other people that it creates a culture and a desire for people to connect with you and help build out that vision. So that is my S.M.A.R.T. I know if my boy A.G. was here, he would have something to share. So I'm just going to speak off of his goals that he had written down when we first came up with the concept. His S was starving for success or starving to get started, right? It was that hunger and that drive to make things happen. His M was motivated to move mountains and metrics to track your success. Now, because AG is a math man, right? He's thinking numbers because he is a big money guy. And so his thing was being motivated to move mountains, but also thinking of the metrics to track your success. A was actionable, and he said it's about that life, right? What is that life that you want? You want to be about that life. You know, you got to have that vision for it and go after it. His R was ready for the reward and reluctantly being real with yourself. Like there are certain things about ourselves that we got to learn to accept as entrepreneurs. And so you have to be real about that, but also being ready for the reward. What are the benefits of what it is that you're pursuing? And then T for him was trained to see the moolah, right? Always looking for where this is leading you in business, because we are in for-profit, not non-profit. So we have to make sure that everything that we do leads to an end result of financial benefit in some way, shape, or form, unless you're in a nonprofit. So guys, that is our S.M.A.R.T, but we want to hear from you. What does S.M.A.R.T mean for you? What are your SMART goals that you put in place for your business? What is the SMART business model that you've been operating by, whether it's been beneficial for you or you realize it's been working against you? Come on over to our site, over to our Facebook page, and share that with us, or leave comments. Come and give us reviews here on iTunes. Let us know, and let us know what are some of the additional things that you want to hear from us and learn from us. This show is all about you, where you are an entrepreneur, where you are in business for yourself, not by yourself. And we're here to make you smarter as entrepreneurs. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Al, I don't know if you have any closing words as we wrap up. You're muted. We can't hear you.
I'll just say, look, work hard at working smart, and that will solve and cut down the time frame it takes to win.
I love it. Work hard at working smart. Well, guys, this is Nicole Cooper, Al Pickett, and our missing co-host today, Mr. Arthur Griffin. We thank you for joining us here on the Smart Entrepreneur Podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye, guys.